Hello students, in this video I am going to tell you about the poem Daffodils, which is also known as I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud, written by William Wordsworth. It is one of his best lyrical work, written in the year 1804 and published in 1807. He had written this poem during one of his walks across the countryside with his sister Dorothy. Remember that he was not alone when he saw this beautiful sight of the poem which is being discussed here. Now, what is the theme of the poem? The theme is all about the beauty of nature. The nature is beautified in this poem. Now, the poet has used a number of figures of speech to enhance the beauty of this poem. Now, what is figure of speech? A figure of speech is a word or phrase that possesses a separate meaning from its literal definition. It can be a metaphor or simile designed to make comparison. It can be the repetition of alliteration or the exaggeration of hyperbole to provide dramatic effect to the poem. Just look at this picture. The poem revolves around daffodils, the beautiful daffodils. Now let us go through the poem line by line, then you will able to know that how and in which way the poet has used all these figures of speech here: metaphor, personification, simile, hyperbole, alliteration. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high over vales and hills. Here, vales means valley. The poet says that he was roaming all alone, aimlessly, like a lone cloud. Okay, like a piece of cloud. Now, the poet has used the figure of speech simile here. The common thing between the poet and a piece of cloud is loneliness. Now, what is simile? A simile is a figure of speech that makes a comparison showing similarities between two different things. Like life is like a box of chocolates. The baby was as light as a feather. You can see like and as are the words which are used whenever we express a simile. Now, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils. Now, let me tell you here, host means like a host of daffodils means crowd of daffodils. And do you think the daffodils looked golden in color? Yes, but they were actually not golden, they were shining like golden in color, okay, due to the sunshine. Now a host also tells that the daffodils, the beautiful golden daffodils, were welcoming the poet, okay, as a host of the beautiful field where the poet found it. Now let me tell you, the poet has used here metaphor, another figure of speech, by describing the daffodils as host of golden daffodils. Now what is metaphor? Metaphor also compares two things to the other, but the words like or as are left out. Now here, while describing or while stating a metaphor, we never use like or as. Okay, they are directly implied. It makes a comparison by directly relating one thing to another unrelated thing, like life is a box of chocolates, time is money, life is a roller coaster, you are the apple of my eye. So here like or as is not used, it is directly implied. Now let us move ahead. Beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. Now here the poet has used another figure of speech, that is personification. The poet has given a human quality to the daffodils. Now, what is the definition of personification? Let me tell you. It is a figure of speech in which a thing, an idea, or an animal is given human attributes or qualities. Now, the non-human objects are portrayed in such a way that we feel they have the ability to act like human beings. For example, the sky weeps. Now, I don't think that the sky ever weeps, okay, but the poet, to give a poetic effect, he uses this line, that is, he uses the weeping, that is a quality of a human. So that is used here to give an effect of personification. Now, in the same way, here poet says that the daffodils too were dancing like human beings in the cool breeze which were found beside the lake and beneath the trees. Now further, the poet says, continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way. The poet here uses again another the same figure of speech, that is simile. Simile is used again. The poet compares here the twinkling of the stars with the and the stars were in millions. Okay, it couldn't be counted, isn't it? So it was a Milky Way of stars, and they were twinkling and shining in a such beautiful way, same as the daffodils were in millions and thousands. Okay, it was infinite in number. So here the poet has used again a simile to compare the shine, that is the shineness, and that is they were also shining. They were as the poet has said, they were golden in color, they were looking golden in color, and the stars also shined up. Okay, now let me tell you, it's just a comparison. Fine. Now, they stretched in never ending line along the margin of a bay. So the poet here tells that the daffodils were in such a large number, that the poet couldn't find an end to it. It was infinite, and it was along the margin of a bay. Here bay means lake. Now 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. The poet has used here hyperbole, another figure of speech. This is the poet has used it to exaggerate the matter. Now, what is the meaning of hyperbole? Exaggerated statements or claims not meant to be taken literally. In poetry, it evokes strong feelings and creates strong impressions. For example, it has been ages since I last saw you. So whenever you meet your friends after a long time, say after a 1 week or 2 weeks, and what expression do you give after meeting? You just say this, that, oh, it's been ages since I last saw you. So you tell in an exaggerated way. Okay, you don't you just met before 2 weeks, and you feel as if you have not met this person for a year. In the same way, the poet has used the hyperbole. The poet has used hyperbole here by expressing that he saw 10,000. Now, I don't think he would have stood there and counted the flowers, isn't it? But in an exaggerated way, he says that he had found 10,000 at one glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. Again, a personification. They were tossing, they were moving, they were dancing there like human beings. Now next, the waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. So here the waves are again they are again personified. The waves are said to be dancing with the daffodils, but like there was a competition between the waves and the daffodils, and who won? Can you guess? Yes, it was the daffodils which outdid, which performed well, which performed better than the sparkling waves, which were also moving in joy. Now, a poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. So the poet says that I couldn't help myself. I was I was in a happy mood. I just got happy by looking at this beautiful scene and such a jocund, such a cheerful company of this natural beauty, that is the daffodils over there in the field. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. So the poet says that he was just gazing and gazing. That is, again, let me tell you, he has used another figure of speech, that is alliteration. And what is this alliteration? Now, it is a term to describe a literary device in which a series of words begin with the same consonant sound. For example, she sells seashells by the seashore. You see, every word starts with S. Almost every word starts with S and she. So here the poet also uses the same. He had repeated the words, I gazed and gazed, but little thought. The poet couldn't think that after going home, after reaching his home, what wealth he is going to get. You know, here the wealth is the immortal happiness. Immortal means which can never die. It is something permanent till death. So the poet has found an immortal happiness with which show? What was the show? The show was the beautiful daffodils, the beautiful dance of the performance of the daffodils. Now finally, in the last stanza, the poet says, for oft means often, for oft when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood. So the poet says that whenever I lie on my couch, on my bed, in a vacant, in an empty mood or something thinking, in a thoughtful mood, what happens then? They flash upon that inward eye. That is, they flash, they come all of a sudden in his imagination, which is the bliss of solitude. Now bliss of solitude means very different from loneliness. Okay, bliss means it's not like low solitude, like it's not low, it is loneliness, but little different from loneliness. That is, even if you are alone, you are in a happy mood, you are happy with your own company, though you are alone. So this was the mood whenever the poet was alone. And all of a sudden what happens? The beautiful daffodils come into his inward eye, come in his imagination, and he feels happy there. And then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. And then the poet's heart fills with pleasure and he becomes very happy. He too dances with the dancing daffodils. Fine. Written by William Wordsworth. So now students, just go through the poem and understand it. It will be very easy for you to understand. Thank you.